Hey everyone, the new film You, Me, and Her is hitting theaters on February 14th. It's directed by Dan Levy Dagerman and it's written by his wife, Selina Ringel, who also stars as the lead actress, Magdalena. Instead of a regular review today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Dan and Selina. Before we get into it, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe and share it with a friend who you think might enjoy this film. All right. Thank you guys so much. Now, it's my pleasure to welcome Dan and Selina to my channel. I'm so excited to have you both here to talk about your new film. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us. We're so excited.
Yeah, thanks so much.
You bet. All right. So to kick things off, Selina, you are both the writer and the lead actress in the film. Could you give us a quick overview of the story just to kind of set the stage for our discussion?
Yeah. So the story is about a couple who's having a hard time in their marriage. And they have a small child and they decide to go on a trip to Mexico to rekindle their marriage on their own. And on this trip, the wife, played by me, gets hit on by a woman. And she realizes that she'd be kind of curious to be with a woman. And then this idea of having a threesome starts to reconnect the marriage. But obviously, it's not as simple as it sounds.
It absolutely is not as simple as it sounds. That's a really great summary. Thank you. So one of the things that really caught my attention about this film and why I wanted to interview guys is because I feel like it really resonates with a wave of recent movies that seem to reflect the millennial and Gen Z perspective. And right now, really younger generations or those in their 20s and 30s are kind of in the middle of kind of what they say, doing the work to figure out who they are and how to navigate relationships in their lives. And of course, every generation goes through this kind of self-discovery. But I think what makes this one unique for this group is social media and how it's impacting their lives. And I feel like You, Me, and Her is part of that larger conversation, and one that's really actively unfolding online and in theaters. And with that in mind, I've kind of tailored my questions around this perspective. So to kick things off, I would really love to start with Dan. Dan, in directing a story that explores themes like this of sexuality, honesty, and communication without reprisal, and I think that's a really important aspect of this question is without the reprisal. Within a marriage, what challenges did you face in portraying these things authentically on screen?
Oh, well, this was a major challenge and something we just love to do. So Selina is my wife. So we work very, very closely from the development process all the way through the finishing of the film. And it's also, our stories are sort of a hyperbole of our life in some ways, if you will. So this started with a real story, which I'll let Selina tell more about. But it started with a real idea, and then we started developing the script after that weekend, and we charged forward making it that way. And I think because of the way we make films that are so immediate, that it sort of captures the zeitgeist of the moment and what people are thinking about at that time. So that's something, because we started making this film in spring 2022, I think. Or 2023
we
premiered.
No.
Oh, no. We made it really fast. It's been a marathon and a sprint since then. So it's been a couple years, but yeah, fast.
Yeah, it premiered in 2024.
Great. Yeah, so we made it in 2023 and have just been sprinting since. And so I think because of the compressed timeline of making a film in that way, captures the zeitgeist of the moment a little bit more.
You know, I actually love that you brought that up. I love talking about films of the moment. And in Hollywood, I think it's really hard to get a film of the moment because they have to plan it out so far in advance. And because of your compressed timeline, it feels like you really did capture something that's happening right now. And I'd really love to know a little more about what inspired like, I don't need any special family drama unless you feel like sharing it, of course.
No,
But
I'll share.
Selena will share the drama.
I'll share the whole thing.
She'll spill the tea.
yeah, I spill the tea. I would love to know what inspired this story, because I feel like there are a lot of couples out there who are going to see themselves in this film in one way or another. And hearing that might actually connect with them and resonate online.
Thank you. And, you know, one of the biggest things we've been hearing that's been so incredible about the film is just how connected couples are feeling after watching it, because it's spurring conversations between them that they have not had. And so as much as I do think that this movie's in the zeitgeist, I also really believe that when you get very personal and say something that really matters to you, it will tap into and connect with everybody else who's having the same human experience. And I think a lot of the conversations that are in the movie are conversations couples need to be having but aren't necessarily having, which will bring me to how this all started. So how this all started was Dan and I actually had our son already. We went on a trip to Las Vegas. And we were on this trip, and we were kind of in a moment where we were feeling a little bit disconnected at the time. And, you know, it's hard when you have a small kid, things change, the dynamic of your schedule changes. There's a shift, you know, and that's okay. But anyway, we went on this trip to Vegas, and this woman hit on me at this club, which was something that has never really happened to me before. But she was a very beautiful woman, and she really wanted to kiss me. And Dan was right there with me. And I was like, oh my God, like, this woman really wants to kiss me. Like, is that okay? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, well, that was fast. So we shared this like very beautiful, intimate kiss. And then this woman was like, you know, I would love to grab your phone number, and I would love to see you later. And I was like, oh, okay. That wasn't really, so I asked Dan, I said, well, what do you think about me giving her my phone number? And he was like, yeah, give her your phone number. And I was like, okay. So I give this woman my phone number. We spent the next 48 hours in Vegas talking about what's on the table, what's not on the table, why certain things are allowed, how we feel about certain things. All of these conversations got opened up between us that were actually irrelevant to this woman. They were our own fantasies, things that we had not discussed, like ways that we were, you know, and it was so interesting. This woman, by the way, did not text me. So that's what actually happened. But by the time we left Vegas, we were already outlining the script. And what we realized was that there were so many conversations that we needed to have that we hadn't had. And so I'm really grateful to this woman that opened up kind of like a part of us, you know, and then we decided to explore that further in the film.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I love that she didn't text you. Because who knows what would have happened? Like, who knows if the script would have happened in the same way, if this whole thing would have happened in the same way. But the fact that she didn't text you, it seems like that really ignited the story in a way, because it sparked your imagination, and then it gave you guys the time and the space you needed to talk. Like,
for sure.
Yeah. No, and to really figure it out, because by the way, you're right. Like, let's say in that moment, she would have been like, all right, let's go. I don't know what would have happened.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? But because we had never even thought about any of these things. There weren't like there wasn't like a rule book, or like I hadn't even thought about the fact that I'm attracted to women. Like, I hadn't had that thought. But when this woman came to me and she was very beautiful, I thought, I'm attracted to her. Do you know what I'm saying? And so it was an interesting kind of experience for us to both go through. But I also do think that kind of by her not responding, she gave us the space to have all of these really interesting conversations. Sure.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that I love about this, you know, you always pre-write questions for people, but it's always the discussion where you're like, wait, I have an even better question. Yes. What I love about what you guys are talking about here is you know, you always hear about the 7-year itch, like, oh, 7 years later, people are kind of like, are we, aren't we, will we, won't we, you know, in their marriage. you avoided the 7-year itch in this film. It was 10 years. Like in your film, it was like, oh, 10 years later, you guys in the film are having a problem. And what I love about it is that, like I said, there was no reprisal. It was all about open communication. And I would love to hear from Dan when Selina brought this up to you and you first had it in your mind, like, wow, this is new, interesting. This is a different side of my wife. How did that play out in your mind as a husband and then later as a director, seeing your wife kind of in a way acting out what might have
that's really fascinating. Actually, we've actually talked about that a lot. So at first, let's start at the beginning where this was actually happening. I mean, the fact of, you know, a woman kissing a woman is also a male fantasy, you know. So there's a male fantasy element involved in there too. So that's where some of this encouragement comes from. But then as we started talking about it and having these conversations about what that would really look like, that's really interesting how that affects your relationship. And then as a director, seeing that from the outside and seeing how this could be like a relationship band-aid that may or may not fix an issue creates a lot of drama. So inherently, we saw all these layers to this as a story as we were talking about it in real life.
Yeah, that's absolutely fascinating.
Oh, and one more thing I wanted to pick up on, because you mentioned it, which is really interesting, is so we've never had a sexual experience like this, except when we made this film together, which is such a controlled environment to explore this as a couple. So that was a really fascinating, weird way to explore this in a very safe way as a husband and wife and as artists building a story.
Well, and something else I also wanted to add that we talked about that I thought was really interesting was there's a moment, and obviously people will have to watch the movie to see what happens, but there's a moment where the husband is kind of part of something where he's feeling it's like first excitement and then like a little bit of loss. And I think we talked a lot about that as well, because I think that there is this fantasy and then there's the reality. And the reality is that if maybe someone else can satisfy your partner better than you, or if maybe you're not involved the way you want to be involved, or if maybe there's all these ways where the fantasy can play out differently and actually make you feel some sort of loss, even though it's what you actually wanted. And so we wanted
Spoiler
to be
alert.
well, we don't know. Did I spoil it?
You don't know if it happens or what not. Like, you don't know what's happening, but I think that's true. Like, you don't know like what you want until you have it. And then you're like, wow, I don't know if I really wanted that.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
those emotions are very keenly observed on screen. Like, that's the one thing when I was watching it, I was kind of shocked at like how well you guys stepped through the story and those beats, and how the actors really, I mean, here I'm talking to Selina like she's like not in the room. How you guys picked up on that and played with each other in a way. Like, first it's you're not getting along well, you're talking past each other, and suddenly you're talking to each other.
Yes.
And then you're talking with each other. And it was a really beautiful transition in how you created that relationship on screen. And if you could just put words into your co-star's mouth, how do you think he felt during that process? Did you guys talk with him about it when you were kind of working it out on screen or on stage?
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the things for me, at least, was we talked a lot and we hung out a lot, and he was really a great person to work with. We love Ritesh Rajan is his name. But one of the things we talked about a lot was this idea, and I kept explaining to him, because I knew the dynamic, because it happened to us, is that so much of me feeling safe going through this is actually not feeling pressure from my partner. So like, and that was one of the biggest things, was like, if my partner could actually hold the space for it to be my decision, right? is the only version of me actually being able to explore myself. If I was in a dynamic where my husband was like, do it, you know what I mean? I'd be like, no, get out of here. I don't want to do it. You know what I'm saying? But because in the real world situation that happened to us, Dan was so sensitive to me. And it was really about me, not about him exploring his own fantasy. That was what gave me space to like really tap into what I needed, which I think was like playing into, you know, the line of that, right? Of like him obviously wanting this to happen for himself, but also really giving me the space to be the person who's leading it, so that it doesn't become like a dynamic that wouldn't work for a woman, because I don't think strong women want to be told what to do. I think this movie is about a woman who's exploring what she wants to do, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So along those lines, you guys just did a screening here in the Boston area. I'm sure you're going out and talking to lots of people right now, lots of audiences, and the movie comes out on Valentine's Day. What a great day for this film. I'm just wondering, as people come in to see this film and they're experiencing it, perhaps with a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, partner, whatever, what do you want them to walk away with? Because I think this is a film where people will walk away with some thoughts in their head or some feelings to explore. What, if nothing else, what would you love this film to most accomplish?
I think we really want people to be honest in their relationships. You know, this is a threesome movie about honesty in relationships is really what it comes down to. And really seeing your partner and seeing them as a person, because having kids and living life and going through work, you can become two ships sailing in a night, just like living together, because you think you know what the other person's doing, you have all your expectations of who they are, and getting past that and actually seeing each other as humans again, and rediscovering that after the 7-year itch or the 10 years, you know, and rediscovering yourselves and meeting each other where you're at is sort of what the movie is really about at its core.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, to add to that, I agree. I think it's so much of what I think is important in the dynamics of a relationship is acknowledging that you're two growing people. And so maintaining that curiosity about who the other person is. It's so easy to think you know everything about your partner and to stop tapping in to being curious about how they're growing or who they're becoming. And one of the things we have actually already received, which has been incredible, is this feedback where people are saying, you know, this movie's making me have conversations I've never had with my partner. And that, to me, that's everything. Like, and whatever that conversation is, because it'll be different for every person. And people have a different framework of what they need to talk about. But the fact that at all these screenings we've done so far, that's like one of the main takeaways is like, I'm having new, honest conversations with my partner after seeing this. I'm like, yes, that's the whole thing.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, that was actually one of my big questions when I came out of watching the film was, you know, so many people, you know, you go through your younger years, your teen years, maybe your college years, and you're a unique individual at that point, and you probably are meeting the person you're going to marry. You know who each other are, you know who you are at that point in time, but you don't stop changing when you get married. Yeah. And there's this weird thing that happens. And yes, I'm a Gen Xer, and I've lived a long time, and I've seen a lot of relationships, you know, through my life. And there are so many couples that forget that they are humans that change through time, and they're in a relationship, and they need to figure out how to change with their partner rather than against their partner. And I think your film explores that beautifully. And I'm just wondering, what do you guys think might be next for you? Or, you know, what more would you like to explore? This sounds, I don't know, maybe a little too far in the future or focused on this film, but what would be next for you guys?
Well, as I've mentioned, we love telling stories that are like hyperboles of our lives. So our first film was about when we got married. Our second film, we filmed while
I was pregnant during the pandemic. That movie's actually on HBO Max. It's called Single Mother by Choice. This is our third one. And I think, I think a big part of it is we want to keep exploring where we're at and writing things as they get inspired, because I think that that's how we've been doing it. And it's been a really beautiful experience. Oh, and I have to also say that I wrote a book. Can you grab it really quick?
Sure.
I wrote a book.
I love books. Let's see
it. Be the Train. That is the mindset you need to kind of get your own creative projects off the ground. So, and I kind of put all of the tips and tricks and everything I've learned, because we've now made 3 independent films. And obviously this one's in 200 theaters nationwide on Valentine's Day. And so I thought I'd share everything I've learned with anyone who's curious on Amazon.
That's great. That's perfect. I think there are so many creative people out there, and nowadays we have so many more tools at our disposal. Like regular people have all these tools now to express their creativity. So thank you. Thank you for sharing your book. Thank you for sharing your film. I think we're just about out of time, but before we go, any last thoughts?
No, thank you so much. I really, really hope you guys come and watch this movie, You, Me, and Her, in theaters. Another big part of this that I think is just key is that we are an alpha test for a new platform that's going to disrupt the theatrical experience by helping independent films find theaters that would be right for them. Right now, the studios control 80 to 90% of all films that go to theaters, which means there's very little space for independent, smaller films. And those films are really valuable, and there's really good voice behind them. And there's so many people who need their stories to be seen. So by actually watching this movie, you're not just supporting us and having a fun night out, you're actually supporting the future of independent film, because this new platform is being built around this, and we're trying to help more independent filmmakers find their audience.
That's amazing. And I agree. There are so many big films out there right now, and they're not always the best films. A lot of the best films are these smaller films with these smaller, more intimate stories. So good luck to you both. I'm so excited for your movie. Thank you both. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Selina. I really appreciate
you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, you guys. Thanks so much. We'll see you all later. And be sure, everyone, to go see this film in theaters on February 14th. And after you see it, or even before you see it, come back to my channel and drop comments in the comment section below, because I think this is one of those films that we could have a lot of fun talking about either before or after you've seen it. All right, everybody. Thanks so much. We'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Can't wait to hear what you think.
Thank you so much.